Hey everyone, it's your favorite black single mother here, Samantha the millennial introvert. And today I wanted to talk about something that I constantly hear about online in regards to people talking about black single mothers or just single mothers in general and trying to put us down and talk about like why would you risk your life having babies because the mortality rate is so high. But the interesting thing is, I never have heard anyone mention that the leading cause of death for pregnant women in the US is actually homicide. Yeah, that's right. I was watching a Lacey Peterson documentary on Netflix, and this woman said that they were talking about pregnant women and how we're at risk for domestic violence, like the risk is heightened when you're pregnant. But imagine my shock when they said that the leading cause of death for women is when we're pregnant. It's not maternal mortality when you're in the hospital. It's actually typically going to be at the hands of the person who impregnated you, who said they love you. And this includes husbands, because the Lacey Peterson case is actually about her husband who murdered her while she was pregnant with their son, who they named Connor. And he was having an affair, and I guess he just didn't want to be bothered with having a baby. And so, of course, the incels could say you should choose better, vet, look at the red flags, blah, 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 blah. But the reality is, people don't do all that. They just fall in love and they just get with who they want to get with. My point is, why aren't we talking about this? Women are so pressed to be married. And as long as women continue to be pressed to be married, we're going to forever have men thinking that they're the prize because they know how desperate women are to be married. And you're so desperate to be married that once more you're putting women in danger as you try to say that the mortality rate is high. And so why would you risk having a baby and you're not even going to be with that guy? Sometimes you're not with that guy because he becomes abusive. And you realize in order to save your life and your children's life, you have to get away from that person as quickly as possible. So let's get right into these details. This is actually from harvard.edu, October 21st, 2022. So here it says women in the US who are pregnant or who have recently given birth are more likely to be murdered than to die from obstetric causes. A hospital, basically. And these homicides are linked to a deadly mix of intimate partner violence and firearms, according to researchers from Harvard T.H. Chan School of Public Health. Homicide deaths among pregnant women are more prevalent than deaths from hypertensive disorders, hemorrhage, or sepsis, wrote Rebecca Lawn, postdoctoral research fellow, and Kerstin Conan, professor of psychiatric epidemiology, in October 19th editorial in the journal BMJ. The U.S. has a higher prevalence of intimate partner violence than comparable countries. Such violence is often fatal, and it frequently involves guns. Lawn and Conan noted. They cited one study that found that from 2009 to 2019, 68% of pregnancy-related homicides involved firearms. That study also found that black women face a substantially higher risk of being killed by their intimate partners, significant others, their spouses, boyfriends, fiancés, than white or Hispanic women. Laws restricting women's access to reproductive care and abortion can place women literally at further risk, since control over a woman's reproductive choices often plays a role in intimate partner violence. And I can't stand how men do not do what they need to do to not have babies, but then they will go in the deep end talking about, I didn't want to have kids, like I don't know why she got pregnant. Do what you need to do to not make her pregnant to begin with. But that's another whole issue because we also have pick-me's as well as the males, of course. We just had this huge societal issue of never holding men accountable for their actions. So they always put the onus on women to not get pregnant or fall pregnant or however they want to call it. And they basically leave it on us like, why aren't you on birth control? Why don't you just get rid of it? Blah, 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 blah. Most women are not going to want to just unalive their child. Once they're pregnant, they consider that to be their baby, and they're going to have their baby. I don't give a crap who you are or what you say. When it's been almost a year since your abortion, but it still hits you like a truck out of nowhere on some days. the reality is women are going to go through with it, and they're going to want their child 9 times out of 10, the majority of the times, or they're just going to put the baby up for adoption. But I feel like a maternal mother instinct is not to unalive your baby. That's not natural. That is another man-made construct that was created by, of course, man. So it's like we can have abortions, whatever, but that doesn't mean women want to naturally do that. And it's not easy to make that decision. So to even get to that point, men need to be having vasectomies, wearing condoms, practicing abstinence, just not having sex until you're ready to have kids, since you're feeling so strongly about it, to the point that you would actually unalive a woman that you claim to have loved and your own unborn child just to not have children or have any more children. It's ridiculous. So let's get into here. So they're saying that, reproductive care, the fact that they're banning abortions in a lot of states, that this can place women at further risk, since control over women's reproductive choices often plays a role in intimate partner violence. Lawn said in an October 20th U.S. News and World Report article, lenient firearms legislation can also increase the risk, so almost everyone and their mama owns a firearm, especially men. Conan and Lawn called gun violence a health emergency for pregnant women, but they added that pregnancy-related homicides are preventable. When pregnant women have checkups, healthcare providers can identify those at risk of violence and try to help them, Lawn told CNN, which honestly is not a thing. Like, I've had appointments that I go to, usually when I go into women's health appointments, like I just had my pap smear recently. I get that done. I try to get it done annually, but yeah, anyways. And I was asked, do you feel like you're in danger, things like that. I don't think most women will admit that. Like, we're not even willing to tell the police, who are literally there to help us in those situations. We're not willing to tell them. We're not filing police reports. We're keeping it to ourselves, and we're just going to try to get out of it, or we just deal with it until we can't take it anymore, maybe, or until they unalive us. So that is something, like, they can say they're doing that, but there's so many other things I think could be more helpful, like helping women get out if they want to get out, making it a safe way for them to get out of those types of situations, especially because you're making guns so readily available. And now apparently banning abortions as well, which is just basically going to heighten the risk of women becoming pregnant and having these unwanted pregnancies with these partners who are going off the deep end and acting completely idiotic about it. Like, they don't know how babies are made, but they had no problem sticking their thing in her without a condom because it doesn't feel as good, or, just having schmecks to begin with because they act like they just can't control themselves and they just have to have schmecks, like it's their God-given right and entitlement to have this. And, or they're just not getting a vasectomy because they're going to feel like less than a man if they don't have one. Or if they get a vasectomy and they can't no longer, produce sperm or whatever. Basically, guys have every excuse in the book to be irresponsible, but they have every statement under the sun as to why they're blaming women for having their children. So this was I don't even know where to begin. This is very shocking to me, and I think it's so interesting how women never bring this up. They talk about all the time how dangerous it is to have babies, and you could die on the table or whatever when you're in the hospital trying to give birth to your baby. But no one ever talks about how the leading cause of pregnant women is actually at the hands of your husband, or that, your man that you just had to have, my man. No one's talking about that. And I really can't stand how people tend to just repeat information over and over. They don't do any research, especially when it fits their agenda. They just go with it. They don't think to ever look it up and think why is this happening? Or is this really true? Or are people just saying this because it fits what they want people to believe, which is dangerous. Because apparently women don't know this, and now we're wondering why black femicide rates are so high. This seems to be going right into the same category as to why those femicide rates are so high. And it actually really makes a lot of sense, because black males do not like commitment. They don't like having responsibilities, and they typically are going to be making less money than their male counterparts of other races and ethnicities. So of course they're going to want to unalive the woman, because now they don't want to have to pay child support. We know how black males feel about child support, that they will literally do anything to not have to pay it or not to be put on it. So while they're recklessly being promiscuous and out here being 304s, having schmecks with anything that moves, they are literally trying to live this life of, just make believe, where it's like, oh, well, I'm not going to create a bunch of kids, even though they've seen men literally create a bunch of kids with a bunch of different women. And people, again, will put this on the woman when it's like, in reality, like, the only baby that women know about will be their own. I'm pretty sure the men know about all their different kids, because women usually are going to find them for child support, or just because they want him in their lives, because they either want him to be with them, or they need help raising a baby, or whatever it is. The guy is going to have a higher chance of knowing who he stuck his thing in than a woman's going to know, because guess what? Men lie, and they lie all the time. So I want everyone to just remember this when they're sitting here pushing marriage. Marriage is not going to protect you from anything. It does not protect you. I don't know if you had to follow Princella or Shira or whoever they're calling out. I don't know who you need to watch to know that men are not really always what they seem. They're not going to always present who they really are to you. They can put on a mask for a very long time, and they're very selfish. So when things are just like not something they desire, they're just going to get rid of it. Men are about making solutions for problems. They just want to fix things and move on, and they're not getting overly emotional about it. And it's just sad, because a lot of women are telling women to get married. They're putting women in harm's way, especially when the women typically are going to be making more than the man. So he's already feeling emasculated because he makes less than his wife. And then she's going to get pregnant, and then he's going to feel even more of a loser, because it's like, now my wife has a baby. We're having a baby. I couldn't even afford to pay the light bill before, and I definitely can't afford to buy diapers, formula, clothes, and a bigger car, a safer minivan. I can't afford to allow her to work from home, or take off for a period of time so she can stay home with the baby, because she doesn't want to separate from the baby. Like, he can't literally do anything for her. And we know how males are going to get, and they're going to become mean, because now they're feeling incompetent, which they basically are. Because me personally, I feel like if you don't have the money to provide for a family and you can't protect them, you don't deserve a family. You shouldn't be having schmecks, and you shouldn't be putting yourself in a position, men, to get a woman pregnant, because you're the provider. So just like everyone wants to put it on women that, oh, you're the mother, you have to be this mom, and you got to be this great mother. You're the father. So your job is to protect and provide at minimum. So why are you out here sleeping with women when you know you don't have any money? And I could try to lecture the women, but again, men lie. I've had men lying to me forever, lying about their age, lying about where their car is in the shop, lying about how much they make, lying about whether they're married or not, lying about how many kids they have. Like, that's what they do. And we just come online day after day after day. People with all these channels come online and completely gaslight women and act like men are like the most truth tellers and the biggest truth tellers in the entire world. And, you're the dumb one, lady, for believing him. Like, why shouldn't we? Why shouldn't we believe them? No one's telling us that they lie. They are liars. And then when we say it, now you're all of a sudden, you hate men or whatever. No, they lie a lot. They lie just to be lying, some of them. It's called habitual liar. Like, they literally just lie to lie. Like, it don't even got nothing to do with anything. You don't even have to be screwing them. You don't have to be married to them, and they're going to lie about something. It's like, why are you lying? That's how much they lie. So it's still really difficult for me to put all the responsibility on women. Like, oh, you should know that he doesn't have a job, or you should know this, you should know that. Yes, like we have the Risa Tisas of the world and the Legions. And again, she was so desperate to be married to this guy because she wanted a baby. And honestly, I'm very concerned for women like in her position. What if she would have gotten pregnant? How would that lying sack of crap that she was married to, how would he have reacted when he realizes he's in over his head and he can't afford this baby, or her for that matter? And then his lies start to come crashing down on them both. How long was he going to be able to keep up his charade? She literally probably saved her own life by not getting pregnant by her own husband. So again, people trying to tell people to get married like that's going to protect them for something. I don't know what to tell you. That's not it. Like, that ain't going to protect you. You know what I'm saying? Like, a lot of stuff you can do with just regular contracts, because that's really all marriage is. It's a effing contract. So if you're dealing with the dude and you want him to do stuff or like leave you a certain amount of money or whatever, then that's a contract that can be easily written up and filed with the courthouse. Like, that's really simple. Just like a will and testament, anything else, you can trust, just whatever you can literally think of, you can have it written up into a contract with attorneys and everything. Because, like, marriage is just, to me, the reason I don't like marriage is because it gives you too much rights over each other. Like, he has too many rights because he's a husband and you're a spouse. Like, I've literally seen people sign off on really major documents for the other one because they're spouses, and people do it all the time. They'll sell a house out from under their spouse because it's like, oh, I'm just going to take this woman in here and have her sign off and pretend it's my spouse. People do so many crazy things. It's incredible to me that people still think that marriage is the end all. Like, it's insane to me. And I don't know why. I don't know if it's because I'm over 40 and I'm just like observing things in such a different light. But you'll notice the women, I really love this. There was this woman on TikTok that I actually just saw her video. I might try to post it.
I want to know from women over 35 if cohabitating with men is really worth it. Like, is that something that I really should be looking forward to in my life? Like, let me... I want to know from women over 35 if cohabitating with men is really worth it.
It's been said before, but I'll say it again. Marriage isn't really good for women. Women don't benefit from being married to men. The comment section on this video is full of women who say this, happily married here, and I say this without weirdness, but if he dies first, and he knows this, LOL, I will not do it again. So many of the comments came from married women who claim to be happily married, who say they would never choose to live with a man again. And I think this speaks volumes about the dynamics that exist in our culture overall, right? When men get married, they expect their wife to take care of them, to cook for them, to clean for them, to take care of their children, to have children for them, and they go off and work. But in today's world, these women are also working. And so not only are they working full-time, but they are also expected to care for the home and the children and do exponentially more work in the home than their partner. And oftentimes these men have been raised without the information or expectation that they'll take care of the home themselves or take care of the kids. And so even when they try to help, they need a list, they need her to tell him what to do, and it's exhausting for women. It's been shown that marriage isn't actually good for women. Women who are single do better than men. Also, having children isn't really good for women, right? We have the wage gap, the motherhood penalty, and the fact that having children can put women at a higher risk of financial troubles in the future, right? Marrying men, living with men, and having children doesn't quote unquote benefit women in the same way it does men, which is why so many women say they would never do it again. And that's also why so many men remarry so fast.
Where she was actually asking women ages 35 and over for advice about marriage. And I'm like, finally. Because some of y'all are asking these people that are just these women who are just way too young. Half of them don't even have a frontal lobe that's fully developed. Like, please don't listen to them. And I also love that I see people making a significant point that trad wives, for instance, they're usually young. You usually don't see older trad wives, romanticizing their lives because it's not romantic. They know the jig is up. They know they got God. They know it's a joke. They're either divorced and homeless and struggling to make the ends meet, or they are so tired they couldn't make content if they wanted to. So I'm just telling people, like, trust me, when you're over a certain age, I'm not saying we know everything, but we know a lot more than younger people. And the whole marriage thing, like, it loses its luster. And people need to really see it for what it is. And another thing I think is really interesting is that with women, love is supposed to be the number one reason why we're getting married. While with men, it is very transactional. Very transactional. transactional. Like, they know exactly what they're going to get from you. That's why men asking what you bring to the table, ladies, it's really nothing new. It's nothing new. Men have been expecting women to cook and clean and have their kids and be good mothers and have schmecks with them whenever they want it. And, just a whole laundry list of things. This is nothing new. They just didn't call it what are you bringing to the table? They literally would just be expecting it through other means. And so, I know women had to get into this habit of telling other women, don't do wifely duties until you put a ring on it. But guys are like, oh, we're not going to marry you if we don't know that you can do these things, like cook, clean, etc. So they've been saying it, ladies. They've been looking at you as free labor, a tool, an appliance, a transaction. Like, if I marry this woman, what am I getting out of it? But women are supposed to just blindly be like, oh, he's just so hot. Let me go marry this guy, and because I just love him so much. And we're not supposed to be looking at the money or anything else. Miss me with it. And then they try to guilt trip black women, especially, because they don't do this to other races of women for the most part, but black women especially, and we're like the least likely to be this, but they would try to call us a gold digger if we say, okay, we're marrying this guy, but he has to be making a certain amount of money. Now it's a problem. Just like when you saw Ebony K. Williams say that she was not dating a bus driver, all hell broke loose. Tyler Perry sat his billionaire ass up there and talking about married a light bill guy. I don't think so. Why are you talking to us? Where's the white guys that's telling white women to marry the light bill Larry? Where are they at? I don't see them. I see them making a lot of money because they know that's what it takes to have a family. So that's just something else I've noticed while I've been doing my research, is that the cultures are just very different. And I can tell you right now, when if I remarry, he needs to be having bank, like so much money. I don't know why otherwise I'd be wasting my time with anyone. It's like, why can't I just be single and be free? Because the reality is, no matter how you slice it, you're always going to do something for whatever you're doing when you're with the guy. He's going to be getting something out of it, or he's not going to be with you. And women need to start looking at it the same way. Like, what am I getting out of this? What's in it for me? And whenever I used to ask that, I still ask it, of course, but whenever I would ask that, guys would act like I was just the worst thing ever. Like, I was just so selfish and a gold digger and da-da-da-da. Like, oh, why aren't you just with me for love? Are you with me just for love? Child, bye. I have to look a certain way, provide certain labor for you, do certain things for you and our kids. Like, child, please miss me with it. And then guys nowadays have the nerve to even want you to do 50-50 on top of all the other things we have to do. They now want us to go outside the home and work and pay half the bills. Like, child, bye. No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. 50-50 is for suckers. And then, of course, you had Gabrielle Union coming out talking about, I do 50-50 with my husband. I don't remember like any white person coming out, any white women coming out saying they're doing 50. Even if they were, they're not advertising it. Like, why do we keep doing this to ourselves, black women? I have no clue. But all I can say is, you all make marriage look so unattractive to single women. I don't know if they realize that. Like, coming out and you are with this multi-millionaire and you're saying you're still doing 50-50 in your household is not a flex. It's not cute. It's just not. I just assumed he was paying most of the bills. He's Dwayne Wade. How much is he worth compared to her? I have no clue. But I'm assuming that if you're with a guy and you're pressed to be with this guy through his kids that he already had from a previous marriage, his baby that he had, while y'all were on a quote unquote break, you that pressed to be with somebody, like, he need to be paying all the bills. Because one thing guys are going to do is put you in they're going to be a whole motherfucking headache. They are going to be a whole motherfucking headache. I'm telling you. You need to make it worth my effing while. Like, when I'm stuck here with you and you can't keep it in your pants, you can't keep yourself on track, you can't be faithful for 2 minutes or act like you have any kind of sense, not annoy me in so many other ways. I need to be living a soft life. Like, I need the money to make it make sense. And I'm not coming out of my self-placed retirement of singledom until a guy with a certain amount of money comes to pursue me. And notice I said come to pursue me because I don't chase. I'm not chasing nowhere. I'm going to be sitting right here, minding my beautiful business, working out, raising my kids, doing whatever I'm doing, and minding my business. And then when the guy with a certain amount of money come towards me, then we can talk. The marriage thing, I'm not gonna lie, it still makes me want to suffocate. Like, it just makes me feel like I am just like cannot even breathe, because I know what comes with that. And it doesn't have to be based on a guy. It's just society as a whole requires wives to be a certain way. And it's a nightmare. It's really a nightmare. This is a homicide, a leading cause of death for pregnant U.S. women. It's a shocking situation linked to a lethal combination of intimate partner violence and firearms. This is by researchers in a journal news release. They were led by Rebecca Lawn, a postdoctoral research fellow at Harvard T.H. Chan School of Public Health in Boston. Ending male violence in the United States, including gun violence, could save the lives of hundreds of women and their unborn children every year, the investigator said. Intimate partner violence is common worldwide, with 1 in 3 women experiencing physical, sexual, or psychological abuse from a partner during their lifetimes. That's crazy. 1 in 3 women. I mean, the reality is you're heightening the risk of not being safe the closer you are to men, the closer you put yourself to men, and it can't get any closer than a husband. So the problem is even worse in the United States, which has a higher prevalence of both past year and lifetime intimate partner violence in other high-income countries. Researchers said the U.S. situation is very serious and actually deteriorating. Between 2008 and 2019, about 68% of homicides in pregnancy involved firearms. Black women are substantially higher risk of being killed than the white and Hispanic women counterparts. Rates of domestic homicides are also associated with state-level rates of gun ownership and firearms legislation, the author said. Few people accused of intimate partner violence are ever convicted, the author said, noting many loopholes allow access to firearms. I'm telling y'all, I run a true crime channel, and these guys do not go to prison anywhere. They get so many chances to like basically take their girlfriend, wife out. It's insane. It really is. And I don't think people really understand like how bad it is. I really don't. And for me to know all the stuff that I know because of all the research I've been doing for my videos, and to just educate women and inform women of like what's going on, because since I'm a DV survivor, I feel like that's like one of my callings, is to help other women avoid being in domestic violence situations. But I guess because I know so much, I'm actually shocked when I see women still like, I don't know, like worshiping marriage. I'm just like, ew. Like, we're still doing that. Even women still dating is like weird to me, because I'm like, we're literally having a whole 4B movement like worldwide. There's women out here dating badly on TikTok, complaining about their bad dates. And I'm like, what did you expect? You just aren't paying attention to anything, sweet pea. You know, it's like they're just putting their head in the sand and still dating badly. Like, still dating these guys who don't know how to really love women. They don't love women. They're there for their own personal, selfish reasons. And that's why they're able to ghost and do all those other things, because if they feel like they're not going to get their quote unquote needs met, then they just kind of dip out because they never really cared about you to begin with.
So you ask, what is bait and switch? Well, this is a technique that you have to be very careful about when you first get into a relationship or you meet someone you like, because bait and switch means that person has created an image of themselves that's very attractive, but it's dishonest. And once you're attracted to them, you want to spend time with them, you're in the relationship, the dark side may start coming out and they show who they really are. But they do it in a way that you can't really tell what's going on. And so you want to believe that they're the person that you first met because you were very attracted to that person. But these other character qualities or these other characteristics start coming out, and it's very confusing.
So I recently discovered the bait and switch technique. Now, this is something that narcissists use, or people who have narcissistic tendency use. And I'm just going to explain the one way, because this is the way that it's been used on me. So let's say you meet someone. It doesn't matter who it is. It could be a random person and y'all were building a bond. They'll be super loving, they'll be super caring, giving, friendly. You might start thinking they your ride or die. They present themselves as the sweetest person on this earth. They have a very big heart and they're just always there for you. And then you just wake up one day and they completely switch. And you're going to be confused. You're going to be extremely confused on what even happened. They will literally start treating you like they don't even know you, don't even care for you, just to see what kind of control they got over you. Beware of the bait and switch. Beware, y'all, beware.
Why men switch up after sex? You're really gonna dislike me for talking to you about this, but I know you need to hear it, but it's really embarrassing for me to. See, here's the thing. A lot of guys are gonna deceive you in order to get what they want from you. You know what they want from you. Because they know what you want from them, they will present themselves in a way that is most desirable to you so that they can get from you what they want. It's a very messed up game, okay? Your job is to determine who is serious from who is unserious. But in all honesty, the reason he's switching up is not because things changed. It's not because he lost feelings for you. It's not because you did something. It's because he never liked you in the first place. And the reason that it pains me to say that is because I know it hurts, but a lot of these guys don't like you. They don't like your personality. They don't like the person that you are. They don't like hanging out with you. They don't like anything about you. They just pretend to like you so that they can get what they want from you. I'm sorry. But there will be guys that do like you for who you are. You just have to do a good job of making them wait long enough so that you can determine whether or not they're someone who is truly interested in you or if they're interested in getting inside you. If they switch up on you after sex, it's because you didn't do a good job of understanding if he was truly interested in you or if he was just interested in being inside of you. I'm sorry to tell you. I'm sorry. Why don't men only talk to women that they genuinely like instead of playing them? You see, the answer is not as simple as you think. We all have egos. And a lot of times our ego takes a hit when we put ourselves out there, when we like someone else and they don't like us back, or they don't show us that same attention or love or care or appreciation. That can be a tough pill to swallow. Even as a man, when you put your heart out on the line and someone just steps on it and crunches it and walks all over you and moves on. But the same way someone can destroy your ego, they can also boost your ego. And so a lot of times men find themselves in situations with women that are boosting their ego, making them feel better about themselves, increasing their confidence in themselves. Because what do you do as the woman who is chasing after the man? He gets to sit back and allow you to chase after him while you're desperate for his attention. You're desperate for his love. And he can breadcrumb you to death and be like, I'm so amazing. I don't even have to do anything to get access to her. And then he uses you to build his confidence back up so he can go chase after the next girl that'll break his heart and step on his ego and crush it and leave him behind. Why he acts interested and then disappears. A great one, and honestly probably the most important one, so please pay attention. Bait and switch. They know if they meet a woman who is looking for validation and looking for a sense of their own self-worth through me, the man, if I come to her at the beginning and I make it look as if I'm super hyper interested in her at the very beginning, that's gonna feel like a drug. You're gonna take a whiff of it, complimenting you, telling you you're beautiful, telling you how amazing and smart and intelligent you are. When he makes you feel so desired and then he takes that interest away, you are left void. You then start seeking to get that feeling back. So what do? You start chasing and pursuing after him. You're not necessarily chasing him, but you're chasing the feeling of having him be interested in you once again. You get on your hands and knees, you put your maid outfit on, and you start scrubbing that floor squeaky clean while you look up at him and beg him to see you and notice you. And the thing about it is, once you're in that position, he has won, because the whole purpose of the bait and switch, right, which is why he shows the interest in you and then disappears, is that you will eventually begin chasing after him and you will eventually become the man. Essentially, you'll be the pursuer. You'll be the one pushing this relationship forward. You'll be the one scheduling the dates. You'll be the one taking him out. You'll be the one giving him princess treatment, because they're hoping that you'll be in such a down bad place in your life and emotionally when they disappear that you'll then begin chasing after him, and he has won. Told you, this is a war. This is a war of power.
Go on for in most cases, because these guys don't have a lot of money, they can't keep this up longer than 2 to 3 months. Some of them maybe can't keep it up longer than 1 month. What I've seen in the past is that they don't typically break up with you, but they may start pulling back after a certain point. They'll start breadcrumbing you if they notice that you are not biting the bait and you're not switching. Maybe some will call it off clean, cut, and clear, and others will just, I don't know, start pulling away and things like that. Now, story time I have for you is a few years ago, I was dating this one particular guy, and a lot of red flags. And of course, I will tell you some things, and a lot of you are going to be like, oh, that was red flag number 1, red flag number 2. So yeah, they were definitely there, and I let it go on longer than I should have. But when I first met him, he had told me he was a CEO. So of course, as we're starting to get to know each other, I'm asking him about his business and figuring out how many employees does he have and things like that. Well, here's the red flags. He had no employees, so technically he wasn't a CEO. He was just a self-employed entrepreneur type of guy. Second, he was having some type of housing problem, and typically a guy that's doing really well, regardless of the situation, will have something taken care of in terms of housing. So he's not in between housing. So when him and I first connected, he was house sitting one of his friends' homes until they came back from France. And then after they came back early, so he had to find a new place to stay, and he ended up renting a room. So red flag. But this whole entire time, he was taking me out. He was paying for everything. And then one day, I realized we went out one time, and the waiter put the bill on the table, and he let it sit there. And I knew okay, I know what's going on. And there were other things that popped up that you'll find absolutely hilarious, but this video is going to stop this video to give more details about that guy and that situation. As a quick disclaimer and reminder, this is something from a few years ago. This is a story time video, and hopefully this is something that other young ladies can learn from. So for everyone watching, I do not need your advice. This is literally just sharing to share the story. There's red flags all over the story, but I went into it like I do anything else, which is I'm not easily impressed. If you want to spend money on me and you want to take me out and you want to prove yourself to me, you're more than welcome to do that. So he had said he was the CEO, and of course I had to do my investigation. We're FaceTiming one day, and I casually bring up his position and what he does, and I mentioned that, oh wow, you must have a lot on your plate, a lot of people that you oversee. How many employees do you have? Come to find out, he had 0. Red flag for anyone that tells me they're a CEO. Essentially, he was just a self-employed person. Ladies, there is a way to vet CEOs, high-level people, and entrepreneurs, but that's for another video. While we're also on that FaceTime call, I can see where he's at, and the home that he was in looked like a very nice surrounding, especially for New York, and I found out he was in Union Square in Manhattan. I soon find out that he is house sitting for his friends that are in France. So the next red flag was that he didn't have a stable home. And for someone that's really successful, COVID should not have knocked him off his feet to where he didn't even have a stable home. Later, I found out that his friends had come back early, and because they had come back early, they pretty much kicked him out. He had to figure out a solution, and he ended up renting a room off of Airbnb. I did not know this until later, and he did not want to tell me because he knew that it looked bad on his part. Nonetheless, this whole time, he is taking me out, and he is paying for everything. He could not keep this up though, and this is where the story really starts to turn. We go for a lunch date, and for the first time ever, he lets the bill sit on the table once it arrived. Ladies, just be careful for men that do not grab the bill right away once they see it. So the bill sat there for so long that the waiter tried to loop back to the table, saw that nothing was there, and so at that point, that is when he picked up the bill and placed his card there. He had offered to put my IKEA furniture together, so I agreed, let him come over. And that's when he started trying to do things that did not have a monetary value. Even tried washing my dishes. So he tried to become the housewife and the handyman. After he put my furniture together, it was a little tiring, so we're sitting like next to each other and just kind of resting our eyes. He tried to act like he was so tired so that I would not send him home that night. Since I only have 6 seconds left, I will create a part 3 and that should wrap it up. Act tired so that way he could stay at my home. But he found out quickly I was not going to have that, and I was very serious when I said it was time to go. It wasn't until later that I found out that that is when it started clicking into him that I was not going to switch, and I was not taking his bait. His financial situation also got worse. And that was right when we were heading into holiday season. His behavior started to change, and he started to act in ways and respond in ways that he had never before. I told him that I was leaving for the holidays, and he had also decided to go back to Europe for the holidays. Interesting enough that when he got his ticket to go to Europe, he didn't get a round-trip ticket. He got a one-way. And he didn't even really want me to know that he only had a one-way. And it was because he didn't have enough money. So he goes to his parents for the holidays, and while he is there, he starts to breadcrumb and he starts to become distant. He could never answer when he was coming back because a lot of that was contingent on a contract that he was trying to sign off on with the company. The company never signed off on the contract, and that ruined his plans because that contract was going to include his money for a ticket to come back to New York. So I will say he was definitely a broke bait and switch guy and not necessarily a swindler, because if he were a swindler, he would have asked me for money. He never did. He was just hoping that I would take care of him at some point. His financial situation got so bad that I do think it started to bother him as a man. Here he is, a 40-something-year-old man, staying back at his parents' house, and he didn't have a home. Because remember, he was renting a room, so that means he didn't even have a home here in New York. After going days without talking to me, he sends me a paragraph text. He mentioned things that were popping up within his family. He also mentioned something about his ex. That's another story. It's nothing too crazy. But he lastly also admitted that he did not know when he would be coming back to New York. That was his way of telling me he's gone. I have never spoken to him since then. And funny enough, he ended up blocking me on Instagram. The reason why that's so funny is because I never followed him and he never followed me, but he would always go and watch my stories. I'm just like, sir, you have nothing to worry about blocking me. So there you go, ladies. And never feel obligated that you need to take out your purse or that you need to check out your wallet or that you need to help a man stand on his feet, because you don't. Besos.
Ladies, beware of men that do the bait and switch technique with you. These are the men that pretend to be the good guys just to reel you in with actions and words and tell you that they're not like those other people that hurt you. And when you get close enough, when you've invested your time and your energy and you are already hooked, they switch what you get and act like that's what you signed up for. Now they're toxic. Now they're narcissistic and say you asked for it, that you chose them. No, you chose what they baited you in with. They switched it, lied to you. And now they're trying to force it down your throat.
So there are many situations where the narcissist reveals themselves after marriage, right? Or after the pregnancy, after the forced commitment or the legal commitment or the lifelong commitment that you'll have together. So it's not uncommon for someone to say, this is not the person I married. That's when they remove the mask and then completely reveal who they are to you in their most ugly and abusive ways.
All right, I'm ready. Let's go.
Damn.
What?
My wife found the head.
Aw,
okay,
thank
man.
you. You're so silly. Let's go.
Hey, my wife don't touch no doorknob now.
Okay, you right. You treat me so good. You treat me so good. Thank you.
Yeah.
Aw. All safe. Yes, I'm good. Thank you. All right. I'm ready.
Time, regular.
What? I
Took
had
all
to
that
change my
time.
dress.
For what? You could have took all that time.
Why you say it like that? Well, shoot.
Oh my God. 40 minutes, you still coming. I'm coming. Never on time.
You the one that took all the time in the bathroom. I couldn't get in there and get dressed. God dang. Open the door. Open the door. Open the door. Really? God dang, nigga.
Have you ever wondered why some men do everything for you in the beginning of a relationship? They'll take you places, shower you with gifts, give you their full undivided attention, and then something changes, right? Then once they become comfortable, as we call it, they stop doing most all of that. Do you know why? It's because they recognize when they are with a strong, independent woman, the only way to make her codependent or dependent upon him is to break her down through manipulation, right? So think of it like this. If you're ever saying things like, I've never had anybody do this for me before, I've never experienced this, that's what he wants you to say. Because he recognizes then what works with you and what resonates with you. And then whenever he has you exactly where he wants you, he will stop. And then you will forever thirst for that feeling, and you will cling onto a terrible relationship much longer than you should, looking for that euphoria again. That's what they do. And it's really crazy because these guys, whenever you realize what's going on, you're usually too invested to just up and leave. Then it's just kind of, I don't want to start over, and I've invested so much, and I've been with him for 2 years. And that is exactly what they wanted. They wanted you to waste your time to where your time's valuable, right? I mean, you can't get that back. And so here you are debating on whether to start over or continue with his bullshit. He's won. So if you ever catch a man backsliding on what he's done for you or what he's offering you or promising you and not fulfilling promises, if he is doing something for you in the beginning and then all of a sudden he's saying, well, I'm doing the best I can do. No, you're not. Think back to the beginning. Think back to what secured you in the relationship to begin with, the attention, the time, the effort, the energy. He's already showed you he's capable. Now he's just making excuses.
So, and I know this is hard to hear, but someone has to say it. They said, and they added, women may be facing more risk because of the recent dismantling of reproductive rights in the United States. Controlling a woman's reproductive choices is common in intimate partner violence. Yeah. Project 2025 reeks of intimate partner violence. It just reeks of domestic violence to me. It takes so many rights away from women. It doesn't even make any sense. It's disgusting. So restricting access to abortion may worsen the risk in abusive relationships. Pregnancy is also a time for screening and intervention because women have more interactions with healthcare providers. These interventions may help stop a pattern of abuse that could lead to homicide or adverse health outcomes, research said, but they must accompany urgent work to reduce all forms of violence against women. And like I said, those things, what are they really going to do if you say, yes, he's harming me? Most women are not going to say that because it's the unknown. What's going to happen if we tell you? Are you going to lock him up and then he's back on the streets and now he's angry because you locked him up and now he's really coming for me? Because, what does he have to lose? Because I had the nerve to get him locked up to begin with. And maybe the only thing that's keeping her alive is the fact that she hasn't had him locked up yet. She hasn't called the police on him yet. And then, if you do lock him up and he is behind bars, what happens to my children and me? Where are we going to go? Where are we going to live? Are we going to be safe living in a homeless shelter around other people who can also, essay us and do other things? So it's a lot more that needs to be added into that. That whole process of trying to keep women safe from intimate partner violence. And it's not really that complex. I think it's just like not a priority to America. Because if this was men going through this at this rate, they would definitely be changing some things up. So research on how to identify risk factors for homicide and pregnancy is also critical to prevention efforts the researchers added. I have no clue like how they would vet a person. You know, it's just difficult. It really is. Like, there's videos out about narcissists and like just a lot of different things. But if you don't know, you don't know. When I got with my narc ex, like I didn't even know what a narcissist was. I maybe heard of it, but didn't even have any clue. And I just happened to be watching true crime, and that's how I learned about narcissism. But you can't like research things you don't know about. You don't even know it's an issue, or it is an issue. Like you don't know where to even begin. You can barely think straight around that time because you are under psychological abuse. So I just want to really point this out because I'm really over people talking about how the mortality rate for women is heightened by just getting pregnant. And they don't talk about the intimate partner violence aspect of it because they're worshiping marriage so much that they just don't want to see that that is actually the leading cause of pregnant women being murdered. And this is just pregnant women. I'm not even going to include the women who have had a child with the guy or have children with him who are living with him, because we already know the black femicide rates are through the roof. So I'm not even going to include that at this time. But just the women who get pregnant by these males are significantly in danger, and marriage cannot save you from that. Look at Lacey Peterson and so many wives who've been unalived by their husbands because their husbands just didn't want to take on responsibility. They're very selfish, and they either don't want to be bogged down with that, or they'll, you know, usually have a mistress, and that's another, you know, myth that needs to be debunked because people are like, oh, the husband's not leaving for the mistress. Yeah, they do. They do. They leave for the mistress. They unalive their wives for the mistress. They do a lot of different things for the mistress. So we need to stop lying to ourselves, ladies, because we're worshiping marriage so much, and really be honest with ourselves to keep other women and ourselves out of danger. So thanks for watching, everyone. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe. And I love all my subscribers. Thank you for subscribing and supporting me, especially my day ones. You all rock. And I'll see you all in the next video. Bye.